Welcome here. Okay, thank you. So with that, we will share our values, which is going to appear shortly on the screen. Our values. We show up and act with gentle honesty and authenticity, vulnerability, caring, and trust, open and welcoming hearts, attentive listening to and respect for one another, an intention to connect with the divine, a dedication to community, a commitment to grow through spiritual practice and service. And with that, our opening song, Barbara Valencia, good morning. Welcome. Many of you will remember Barbara from many years ago. She was one of our ministers or
Mhm.
yeah, she's been an important part in the past of our ALC. So welcome back. So
Thank
our
you.
opening song this morning is I'm Already Enough. Thank you. Well, good morning. Cindy's joining us from California this morning. Wow, what a great crowd. So with that opening, will lead us into our meditation this morning entitled Take a Journey Beyond Your Limits, a guided meditation for expanding consciousness. So let's just plant our feet on the floor and prepare to go within. So that was a great lead in to our special speaker this morning. We are so delighted to welcome our friend Revvi Norman Wolfe, and he's going to share his journey into consciousness. Welcome, Norman.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's quite lovely to be here. When Laurel reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, would you like to speak? It's been a long time. We miss you." I said, um, "Sure, why not?" And then Cheryl asked me what was the theme of my talk, and hang on a second. I'd like to see everybody, so I'm going to change my view. There we go. Now I can see everybody. It came to me that I've been gone from this community for probably a year or so now, and I thought, well, maybe I should talk about what's been going on in my life since I was gone for so long. And what's been going on in my life, about a year ago, I received an email from the Monroe Institute, and I'll tell you a little bit about them in a second. I received an email from the Monroe Institute, and it was advertising a program on out-of-body experiences. And it was a 7-month program that met every Sunday for 7 months. I thought, wow, that sounds fascinating. I'd love to experience being out of my body. I actually had my first and only out-of-body experience when I was 18 years old or thereabouts. And I woke up one night in the middle of the night, and I noticed that I was floating on the ceiling and my body was in my bed. Go, that's not the way life's supposed to be. I got scared as hell, and I went running back into my body, and never again was I able to ever leave it. But at this stage of my life, I said, and I know Jane's had a major out-of-body experience through a workshop she did during her, I don't know, earlier years. Um, and there's always something about out-of-body that fascinated me. So there I went. Jane and I took this class, and so for the first 7 months of the last year, my Sundays have been occupied by that. But as I got to thinking about the talk today, I realized my journey into consciousness really started back probably consciously in 2014 when we bought our home here in Vancouver, the home we live in. I remember the first day we walked into the house, there was something energetically magical about it. And I decided I've got to learn how to feel this energy. I always believed in energy. Everything is energy. It's feng shui, energy, everything. I mean, there's so much talk about energy. Um, I set a goal for myself that year um, to be able to see energy, feel energy, and work with energy. Well, that goal is still being worked on. Uh, and so it's led me through a number of things. So that was 2014, a decade ago when we moved in here. Um, Actually, a little over a decade now. About a few years later, probably around 2016, 17, I heard about this form of energy called Tai Chi, and I decided I was going to learn how to be a Tai Chi teacher and instructor and work with Tai Chi and Qigong. And so I enrolled and I got certified and I learned more about how to feel energy, how to generate energy in my hands and just through my intention, my mind to be able to feel the ball of energy that is around us. And then a few years later, probably around 2018 or so, um, I was called to do Vipassana training. Vipassana is a 10-day retreat, silence, where I learned how to truly quiet the mind and focus. It's a program where we just sat for about 2 hours, 3 or 4 times a day in meditation without moving, no twitching. Well, at first you're allowed to twitch, but then after a few days they say no twitching, no moving, sit still, and just keep focusing the mind on the energy that you're feeling inside your body, with the intent of being able to hopefully feel that sense of dissolution into the universal energy. Oh, by the way, Eric, I have to say, your choices, I don't know how you do it, were just absolutely perfect. Both the opening song speaks to everything I'm going to talk to. The imagery, my God, that's such a beautiful imagery of what my talk's all about. And the meditation was, as Cheryl said, a perfect lead into this. So thank you for that. It was beautiful. And then around 2022, I always heard about this place called Monroe Institute. But a friend of mine turns out was on the board. I think he still is. And I got called, another calling from the universe, to go do the Gateway program. And Monroe Institute is all about out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, uh, telekinesis, where you bend spoons, and I mean everything about mind, consciousness, awareness, uh, dream work. They did a lot of studies on dream work. And they had this uh, 7-day retreat, 5-day retreat that I did. No, I did not have out-of-body experience. I did not do very good on remote viewing, but I did gain some deeper understanding about consciousness, what's out there. And that was really further enhanced over the 7-month period of the Beyond program. The Beyond program has a part two that I'm now involved with, and it's called Elevate. And it's a program that's designed where there are 6, um, call it spiritual traditions or mystical traditions. The first one was a Colombian shaman. The second one was the Elysian mysteries, and there's four more that we'll be doing. So, what have I learned so far about uh, expanded consciousness or out-of-body experiences? And, well, one of the first things that's been coming, that's I've become very astutely aware of is the desire to experience phenomenon. There's a difference between the phenomenon, the aha moment that, wow, I just left my body, or wow, I just had this experience, or this phenomenological, and the desire to hold on to that as if that one mystical experience or phenomenon um, is all there is. And that's a trap. That's one of the things I learned is we can get trapped by being enamored by remote viewing or out-of-body experience or um, telekinesis or channeling or anything. Uh, it's beautiful and it opens us up to the realization that who we are is not quite everything we think we are, that who we are is greater than what we think we are. Um, and so, what is consciousness? What is this thing that I seek to better experience? And that's sort of my new goal. What did I say? They asked the question, why do we, what is it we want to get out of this? What's my why? And I wrote, to discover and experience that which is so much greater than the physical plane, to bring my body to a state of natural health, to heal current and lingering lineage patterns, and to live in the physical world with greater ease, peace, and joy. And so that's kind of why I'm doing all this stuff, as I've discovered that. So let me cover a couple of things. First of all, what is consciousness? It goes by many. What I've discovered is it goes by many names. You can call it what you want: universal intelligence, universal everything, God, uh, Brahman. It's really the realization that life is infinite. Life is just pure energy. And we have the capacity to shift our awareness into states of being that allow us to experience the infinite. Um, in fact, we do it all the time, and we just don't know it because we're not, the part of us that's conscious isn't conscious of it. What do I mean by that? Every night you go to sleep and you dream, you are out of your body. You are swimming in the plane of infinite consciousness. You are not trapped in those moments by the limitations of your physical construct. You're just out there, out of body, having a good time, visiting lots of different places and things. Um, so one of the things I discovered in this journey of consciousness, and especially working with out of body, is we label things, and in labeling them, we can potentially deprive ourselves of what we really experience. One of the things that the shaman said that I thought was really pretty amazing, he said, everything dreams and sleeps. Trees dream. The grass dreams. The air, the breath, the plants, the animals, humans, they all things dream and sleep. Wow, that was interesting. the air around us dreams. It's like changing the way we look at the what the world is about. One of the experiences I had, and I keep playing with it, is I began to think about the earth breathing. And normally I think about I walk on the earth, and there's me, and then there's the earth, and then there's the trees, and then there's the plants and our puppy dogs. And but what if energetically I am always flowing out of the earth just like the trees do? Just imagine for a second, put your mind into this awareness of the earth and you are fully connected, just like the tree is connected to the earth. And your energy and the earth energy are flowing together. What does that do for you? How does that shift how you view who you are in the world? So what's happening is all these different ways we have of talking about the phenomenon of life, dreams, shamanic dream space. Shamans go into the dream world. Um, with Vipassana, it was about dissolution into the oneness or into the infinite. Um, with Christianity, it's about feeling the grace, being filled with grace. It's all the same thing, just different words to mean the exact same thing. And it has to do with the ability to shift our awareness. And that's why that meditation was so beautiful. And the imagery, just think of that imagery where you are floating in this infinite field of energy, and all you have to do is shift the frequency of your antenna, so to speak. If you think of yourself as simply an absorber and transmitter of energy, what energy are you absorbing? What energy are you allowing in? Where is your awareness and what are you paying attention to? And how are you framing what you're experiencing such that you're either allowing it in or you're limiting it? We live our lives as if we're, if you follow my metaphor, think of yourself as a radio, a receiver, right? And there's all this energy fields, information fields, whatever you want to call it. And all you have to do is tune the dial to a different frequency, and your world would be you'd be on a different station, right? But that's really all it is we're just tuning our dials. The problem is we always live on one station. We try to make everything fit in that one station. But there's a whole spectrum of experiences you can have by simply retuning your dial. And how do you do that? It's what the meditation was talking about. You just put your awareness into your center of your being, into your heart center or your gut center, or wherever it is for you, and you open. Just open and allow and be aware of it. The trap is we always, as humans, want to make meaning out of our experiences. And there's a real powerful thing about that, right? Because it allows us, we have an experience, we kind of make meaning out of it. We tell ourselves a little story. This is what that means. And figure, okay, if that's what it means, then I can behave this way. So I have a little story explaining experiences, and then I have an associated behavior with it. And therefore, when I come up with a similar experience, I know exactly how to behave. And we kind of build this story behavior combinations for every experience we have. And you can call that our psychic DNA, right? That's the DNA of our psyche that allows us to respond to an event. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to reformulate our theories or our experience. We don't have to, And that's really great. It allows us to be very efficient. And think about the first time you learned to drive, you were very intent on everything. But now you get in the car, you hardly think about it. Some people should think about it more than they do because they're dangerous that they don't. But that's the way we're wired. We have an experience, we learn something, we formulate a story around it that tells us how to behave. We learn that behavior pattern, and boom, we're very effective at navigating life, except when we constantly live through that same story pattern over and over again. And we try to make everything fit that as opposed to expanding that to fit new experiences. In improvisation, they have this concept called yes and. And yes is simply a another way of saying what spiritual teachers have been saying all along. Be present in the moment. Accept life as it shows up, not as you would like it to show up. Wanting life to fit into your pattern makes you very safe and very comfortable, but it diminishes who you really are, your experience of yourself in the bigger scheme of that phenomenal field of energy all around you. That is truly what life is. And life is going to constantly, and if you want to call it God, if you want to call it the universe, um, call it what you want. I like the term life, call it evolutionary spark. But whatever there is bigger than us that we try to give names to, whatever that infinite field is all about, um, why deny ourselves the ability to constantly experience the newness of it by staying open to what shows up as opposed to going, I don't like what shows up. You're supposed to be like this. You're supposed to respond. This is the way life is supposed to happen. During this process, one of the things I discovered, if you will, or formulated in my mind, I had this imagery. We were talking, and I think again it was the shamanic, maybe it was the Elysian mysteries. I forget where it came from. They were talking about the spiritual body and the physical body, and I started to get this picture that showed up in my mind of the infinite beauty. Think of that image we had in the opening session, the opening song, and how beauty of that background of the universe, of the energy fields, of the stars and the galaxies and the nebulas and all that richness that's there. And I began to think of, the universal energy is like a big tapestry. And within the tapestry, there are different weaves. Within each weave, there are different threads. The universal body is the tapestry. The spiritual body is the particular weave that I'm part of, and the thread is my life. Now, an interesting question to ponder. Is there a master weaver weaving the tapestry? Or does each thread create the tapestry as it is flowing through life? I have my view. I'll be interested in what your view is. Um, so with that kind of framework in mind, I ask myself the question, so what is my role in all of this? What's my role as a thread in this weave and my weave versus other people's weaves? And you and I might be part of the same weave, or we may be in parts of different weaves. Another metaphor I have of that is the ocean. And the ocean is the tapestry, the infinite. And each wave that comes up from the ocean is a unique weave, a unique pattern. And I'm a drop of water on that particular wave. But if you take away my drop of water, if you take away my thread, that picture, that wave, that ocean is fundamentally different. It's a different picture. I mean, Jane's an artist and she plays with fabric and art and everything, and it's all around me. And I see the difference when she puts an extra line in the painting or changes a particular color or it puts a contrast or changes the value of it. It just, the feeling, the energy, everything about it is completely different. If my thread didn't exist, this world would be very different, even though I'm just one thread in a weave in a major tapestry. It's just, so my role, as I view it, is to own my thread, to recognize I'm not here to make the world look the way I want to. I'm here to find my particular weave and my particular thread and to live it in flow with the universe. By flow, I mean, can I open to the energy flow, like being in a river? There's a flow. Can I feel that flow and sense where my where my thread should go in that weave? Should I move up, down? Should I circle back and come back around? How is my flow of that thread supposed to add to the weave that I'm a part of in this bigger tapestry? And I have no idea what this tapestry looks like. I have no idea what's unfolding. And I don't know if I should or supposed to. I don't even know if there is supposed to, what a picture is. I know when I was doing some art, Jane took me to a workshop with a guy in Southern California, Lee McCluskey, and he had us just randomly draw stuff on a piece of paper, like squares or circles, and then just do stuff, put stuff up there. And then he said, step back and look at it and fill it in, highlight certain areas. What pattern are you seeing that you want to bring forward? And just let it. I think that's the way I'm supposed to live my life. Right? Out of the chaos that I see around me in this moment in time, how should I move my thread? How should I highlight certain things and not other things? And just let it go the way it's supposed to go. But it's an important role. It's never to be diminished because without my thread, the tapestry falls apart. And so my journey through consciousness has been exciting. I can't say that I've actually left my body yet. Still working on it. Or maybe I have. I remember the first time um, I did Monroe's Gateway program. They teach a thing called, and I guess I want to highlight this piece too. They have a state they try to help you reach, which is body asleep and mind awake. So just think of your body being fully asleep, like you're in dreamland, like your body's doing what your body's doing on its own. You're not paying any attention to it whatsoever. Now, imagine you're sleeping, but you can all of a sudden stay awake. Your mind's very alert. It can notice that you're asleep. It can notice that you're floating in dreamland. It can notice. Okay? That's the first kind of state they want us to move into. But in that state, it's hard to get to that state if you're trying to make meaning out of anything. The minute you start to think about it and you try to understand it and you judge it or compare it, you lost it. You're back into the ego state. The the body awake and mind asleep state is almost the reverse. Um, and so that's to me is part of for now, for me in this journey of consciousness, to find that state in the daily living where I'm allowing the experience of life that presents itself to me to be the thing that I pay attention to. So I hear a voice, I'm not going to ignore it. I don't know what it means, but there's a voice. I'm going to catalog it, and then I'm going to move on. I have this feeling. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to catalog it and move on. And then all of a sudden, the pattern's going to reveal itself, just like that painting. And I'm going to go, oh, this is what I do next. That's my journey into consciousness. Thank you. I hope the sharing has meant something to you. And Cheryl, I'll leave it to you if we have time for conversations, comments. You know me, I'm always open to it.
Well, yes. Um, we absolutely have at least 15 or 20 minutes if we choose to share or ask questions or comment. Would anyone like to bring up any topic around Norman's discussion exploration this morning? It was fascinating, lots to think about. When you were talking so much about the tapestry, it reminded me of the New Thought hymn that we sang often at ALC when we were in Hazeldale called Weave. Weave us together in unity and love. I don't remember, that was the chorus. It was such a warm and enveloping song. I loved it, but that brought up that song.
I could appreciate that. I could appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would love
Okay.
that to be a little different in that we weave us together. There's this notion that I'm moving away from, that there's a master, this is my personal belief, that there's a master weaver. I I think that's a way of allowing us to maybe move away from the difficult, very challenging responsibility of we weave our own threads.
Hmm.
We are the creators of our life, and we
Yeah.
are co-creators with a major forces of life. Um, it's an I know it's challenged me to really sit in that belief, um, because with responsibility can feel sometimes overwhelming. But I believe it frees us in many ways as well. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, Norman, one of your questions was, what's my role in the weave? And my feeling's always been just creation for creation's sake, not uh, not that it's just if we're eternal, if spirit is eternal, if life is eternal, you have to do something for eternity. So why not create? It's just, and I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
I totally agree with you. I think creation, and this is something that Jane really moved me to because her purpose in life, she said, was always to be fully expressed, right? To create without any um, limitations or uh, feelings of it's not good enough or any, just to express the soul's what the soul wants to express in that moment. And that drives a lot of her art, which is absolutely gorgeous. Um, so I agree with you. I think I want to add just one thing onto that. I also believe that we all have a purpose. And my thread isn't just arbitrary and it just can be random, although my purpose might be just to be random in the thing. But I've watched myself, and I clearly have a purpose. The work I'm doing with the organizations is my core purpose. And this work into consciousness is designed to allow me to fully express my purpose. And I think we can find our purpose by allowing ourselves to feel what gives us joy, what feels easy in our life, what gives us energy. And when we're doing that, we begin to feel our purpose. And when we do that with the sense of creation and expression that you were mentioning, I think that's how we contribute to the tapestry. Jane, you had something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to add, you talk about, um, Kay said, our purpose is to create, and you immediately went into my art. And I guess I just want to emphasize creation isn't about art. It can be having a conversation. It can be giving somebody, at the side of the road a sandwich. I mean, it can be anything. It's more about how you live your life than the things you make. And and so often when we talk about creating, it people's minds go to, oh, I got to write a book, or I got to sing a song, or I got to be in a play or paint a picture. And and that's such a misnomer, because we are all creative beings, and we all create in our own special way. I mean, Cheryl has beautiful gardens. Um, we keep
Absolutely.
this church going, and now I'm going to sign off because I'm going to have a coughing fit.
Uh, I thank you, Jane. That's absolutely correct. That, when you were talking, I was thinking of Drac. And yes, he's a musician, but his creative expression is caring for people. And he became a nurse, and he cares for people. And that's the way he's expressing his joy and his creativity. I work with organizations. That's my creative expression, helping them become much more effective and to see life in a different light. Um, we all, and I know that's my calling or my path or my dharma, because somebody asked me the other day, when are you going to retire? I said, I am. But I mean, you're creating this company and you're working so much, and I said, yeah, but if I got up in the morning and I asked myself, what would I love to do? I don't want to go play golf. I don't want to just read books. This is what gives me my joy. And so what do you do when you retire? You just focus on what gives you joy. Well, this is what gives me joy, so I'm retired. Busy as hell, but I'm fully retired, right? I'm not doing anything I have to do. I'm doing only that which I want to do, that which brings me joy. And that's what life is meant to be. That's how I live my life. And to do it with as much connection with the flow of life, which is the path of consciousness, to bring it back to the theme of it, to do it from a place of really opening up to, how do what's going on around me? And not with judgment, not with stories, but from an experience base, and allowing it to be the way it is. It's actually what allows me to navigate the chaos that's going on in our world today. Eric, and then I see
Yeah,
Paul.
just this aspect of creation. I think what we're really expressing is unconditional love for
Yes.
themselves. I mean, for oneself as well as for all creation. That's a result of our creation. Is this unconditional love that we give forth.
I think you're right, Eric. And I've always believed that unconditional love is the natural frequency of the universe.
Mhm.
So when we're experiencing what we call unconditional love, we're getting, or however close we get to that feeling,
Mhm.
uh, and I call it unconditional and unconditioned love, because it's that pureness
Mhm.
that flows through. I believe that's when we're experiencing our true connection to that which is greater than us, whether you call
Mhm.
it the divine, grace, Christ energy, whatever it is. That's why they call Christ the energy is love, right? Because that's what he embodied. Paul, go ahead.
Well, this idea that we can have some purpose that only affects, it's our purpose.
That's
It
right.
isn't the country's purpose. It isn't my boss's purpose. But I didn't. I have just recently in my life learned this. I remember when I was first trying to get they gave me a job of locating roads out on the forest. I had a crew of people, and everybody was encouraging me to take charge, and get this done, and you'll you'll be much happier for it. And I tried that for a little while, ordering people to do it and getting them trained and being on their ass if they didn't perform in a certain way, and I started to learn that once I got them started, I let them go, you know, and 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 let them find out for themselves, whether they were doing good or not. And not, I'm not every time, but I found out when I loosened up with my people and talked to them, like I wouldn't if I wasn't their boss. I got a hell of a lot more accomplished than when I pushed it. I'm trying to live up the boss's thing that you got to be tougher, Amber. And no, I need to get work done as easily as possible.
Right.
If I have to go back and sit in a truck for Christ's sake, and I get more production, that's what I want. Well, now I've grown up. In fact, I'm just about ready to grow out of it. And I don't have any responsibilities except just make sure that I don't fall down on my ass and go to the hospital. I just have to just go through the day without, I don't really think about going through the day. I just kind of go through it,
Yes.
and I'm looking for the easiest path.
Yes.
Some people jab at me because I have a lot of crap laying around the house, but that's my house, and I'm not going to let that worry me. If they're so bothered by it, they can pick up some of the stuff, which my housekeeper does once a week anyhow. She just loves to clean up for me, and I think that's real nice. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I'm finding out as I get older, I don't have to have a big plan for the next thing to do and try to follow it. I just have to get along. Just get along.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in a way, the way I hear what you're describing is you're just going more into the flow of daily living
Yeah.
rather than having the need for structure or form or tasks or um, anything of that nature. And I think as we get old, I no, can't speak for everybody. As I get
So,
old,
yeah, that's enough.
thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Anybody else have comments? Yeah, go ahead, Arlene, and then Carol.
Yeah. My comment is that while we've been talking about being in that energy place, I've been thinking about, well, what is my job to do in that place when I get there, and what do I want to do? Do I want to have fun? Well, some of it's love, a whole lot of it's forgiveness. But you know what else? Like there's part of me that's a warrior. I like to argue. I really do. I love to argue with people sometimes. And I think that part of my job is that warrior energy to help create change and growing and healing and whatever we do with that warrior energy. You know what I mean? I love to argue. Is that bad?
No. It's your thread. It's your role in life. And it's an important role. I mean, not every. I mean, if you look at a lot of the models that have been created, whether you use Myers-Briggs or DISC or Carl Jung's basic model, um, we all come into life with different orientations. Some are introverted, some are extroverted, some are warriors, some are lovers. Um, what I have learned and what I try to practice is I want access to all of those. I want to be a warrior when the warrior energy is necessary. I want to argue. I want to stand my ground. I don't want to be pushed over. I also want to be a lover. I want to be a magician.
Yeah.
Right? I want to have access to all of it. And that allows me to be more fully expressed in the moment to whatever shows up and be appropriate to that situation. I don't want to be a warrior in everything. That gets really
Mm.
annoying. I don't want to be a lover in anything. That gets looking like really wimpish sometimes. I want to have the balance in life. I want to be, Carl Jung calls it fully individuated wholeness. Wholeness is when you put all the pieces together, and you bring the head and the tail and you become the coin. Otherwise, you got not completed aspects of ourselves. Um, so that's how I view it, Colleen. I love warrior energy. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Carol?
Well, I was thinking too of my role and purpose. And what I realized from actually what you and Arlene just said is I'm not just a purpose. I have threads of my own.
Yes.
And one of my threads has been recently, and coming from youth, I'm driven to help people understand themselves and each other so they
Beautiful.
can have better time in life.
That's your purpose.
That's the main. And then of course I have all these other threads. I love to sketch. I used to love motorcycle riding and not mountain climbing, but backpacking. And I did have one out of body experience, which I thought was really interesting. And I have heard voices, or a voice once told me that voice said it would be with me through the rest of it, whatever the rest of it was. So I've had a few mystical experiences, but I haven't really sought them. They just came. And I
You-
have a friend who was on the earth plane who did body out of body and was being recruited by the army or military to work, and she refused to get involved.
Yeah, the military has spent a lot of money on perfecting remote viewing, especially, or astral projection, or whatever
Right.
you want to call it.
For
They,
spy work and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, be able to sit in the room and see what's going on at the general's headquarters of your enemy. It's
Yeah.
kind of useful. Yeah.
And this lady actually saved my life when I went into a coma from viral encephalitis and was lying unconscious in my house in Ahwatukee, Arizona, which is part of Phoenix. She called the emergency team and told them to break in and rescue me. And they said, "What? How do you know?" And she says, "I just know." And she didn't have a way of explaining that they would accept. And so finally she said, "Screw it, I'm going over there and I'm breaking in. You can come or not." And they did. And I was unconscious lying beside my bed and I
Wow.
was in a coma. So
What a blessing that you had somebody like that in your life at the time.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
there's so many stories like that's part of, listening to all those kinds of experiences and some of my own. Um, that's what led me to this whole journey of there's more to life than this physical world we live in. So much more to life than this physical world we live in. Uh,
I have one more thing
yeah,
that
go ahead. Go ahead, Paul.
some of you have heard this story before, but I've thought about death a lot over my life. What's it going to be like to die, and what's going to happen to me, and I keep saying, well, you can go to heaven. That's what people do, and yeah, you have to believe in supposed to believe. There's a path you're supposed to follow, and if I have to, I'll follow it. But I'm really not too keen about going to heaven, even everybody says that's what I should be doing. Uh, God, the idea of in some cold place out in the universe, way out of touch with everybody that I love, or even that are supposed to be there. And so I said, God, can't there be some place for me just to die where I love to be and just stay
Well,
there?
I,
And
I'll,
so I told my mortician about this. We've been pretty good friends. When Charlotte died, I got to have a pretty good relationship with him. And I says, I'm going to tell you what, you got me a gravesite over here, and I've decided to be stuck in your graveyard. And I says, I'm gonna have a hell of a good time. Because I got all kinds of people around here that are already in the grave. And I'm going to just have lots of fun with them every night. We're going to have a big party down here. And there's more coming. I know my ex is coming, and there's some other relatives, I'm sure, that are going to join their families. And it's going to be a bigger party every night or as we go along.
They're all waiting for you to
And
come.
the mortician says, yeah, you're coming to the right place. We are a party. We allow parties here, and you can have lots of fun, except one rule. At 6 o'clock in the morning, you all better be back in your holes, he said.
That's really cute.
That's how
There's actually some of Bob Monroe's work from Monroe Institute. He actually sort of categorized different aspects of this infinite world. Yeah, and one of the things he says, and other spiritual traditions say similar things, especially from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, I think, how we experience the energy of the afterlife has a lot to do with the framework we bring into it. So people who come from a Christian modality will experience the afterlife through that particular framework. And people who come from like a Native American background will experience the afterlife from that framework. We don't come into this world as a tabula rasa. We come into this world with certain orientations, like introverted, extroverted, and other ways we describe that. And according to Monroe, when we leave the world, we also leave with certain frameworks or beliefs or ways we see things. So I have no idea. This is just what some people say. So if you want to go and stay with your friends, then that's probably where you'll go and stay and be and experience.
Yeah, everybody gets their way.
Well,
Any
fun
other
is a high value for me, so if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it.
As I said, the universe is infinite, and I can't comprehend. I finally accept the fact that I will never comprehend infinite. So I'll keep learning different pieces of it and expanding and expanding and expanding as much as I can. And maybe someday I will have an experience of infinite. I don't know.
Norman, do you have a plan
Do I have
that
a plan?
your last year or last decade maybe has been evolutionary and taking courses? Do you have something you're looking forward to in the near future?
Well, I'm currently doing this other program, and so every week, every 2 weeks, we get exposed to a new mystical, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, tradition.
Mhm.
And then during that 2 week period, we have meditations to follow or rituals to follow and stuff like that. Uh, so I don't know what I'll learn from that. I guess my plan is really to follow what life calls me to do. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. I think from the first day I decided to, follow that inner voice that says go to seminary, and I said seminary doesn't make any sense. Or even when the voice said write this book, and I'm not an author, I don't write books. I've learned over the last couple of decades, especially, to really honor and follow that inner voice, that inner guidance, wherever it leads me. I no longer have any idea where it's going to lead me, and so my plan is to follow the inner voice, and then just to experience what what I learned from following that guidance. It took me to the Beyond program. It took me to the Elevate program. It actually took me to LAC. So continue to follow the voice.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing your journey with us
You're
and
very welcome.
bringing up some things for all of us to think about. And we appreciate you being here. I've missed you a lot. I hope you aren't gone for another year from our
Yeah.
midst.
Well,
Stick with us,
the
Norman.
program runs through April, or it's I don't remember when it stops. May, I think it ends in May sometime. So yeah, I can come back probably in the summer to tell you what I've learned over the last 4 or 5
Okay.
months and
Right. Thank
whatever
you for
else.
being here. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
sharing. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for all of your participation. And our closing song is called Three Little Birds. Good advice. Don't worry about a thing. Everything's going to be all right. So with that, let's do our closing circle and greet each other with namaste before we go into our prayers and announcements. So, namaste.